Today we will going to talk about some nations, that is India, Bangladesh as well as Myanmar. And recently there are some events that had happened in these two countries that does not look like organic, that looks like staged, that looks like someone from the behind has conspired or staged those protests to burn the countries. Because every protest that has begun in the South Asian nations, particularly in case of Bangladesh and India, all the protest has begun with a peaceful manner. But after some times, all of those protests turn into a very violent protest. The protester burning down the streets, burning houses, burning down the government properties, burning down the buses, schools. So all the things that are related to the nation has been targeted. What are the countries are fomenting these kinds of riot? In case of India, that is obviously China is involved, and in some cases United States, United Kingdom and several Western countries are also involved in fomenting riot in India. And that we have observed in case of so-called farmers protest and also so-called CAA protest. CAA protest, in that case, there was a propaganda that was spread by the Western media houses that India will going to remove all of its Muslim populations and they will remove from their lands. That was the propaganda that was spread by the Western news media outlets. And in case of Bangladesh, the same thing has happened. Bangladesh government recently has decided to increase the quota for the heroes, those who are fighting in the Bangladesh Liberation War against Pakistan in 1971. Those heroes in Bangladesh's eye deserves that quota because they fought for Bangladesh liberations. They sacrificed their life, they sacrificed some of the members of their family, and that is why they deserve some quotas in the Bangladesh government services. But the students began their protest. When the protest began, then it was peaceful. But Bangladesh Prime Minister visited China. During that time, the protest became very much violent. Why that has become very much violent? Nobody knows. There were nothing to be violent of. The protesters were asking the government to reduce the quota, to abolish the quota, and they were ready to talk with the Bangladesh government. And the Supreme Court of the Bangladesh also pauses the quota. After some time, they reduced the quota from 56% to 7%. But between that time frame, they started burning the buses, they started burning the houses that belongs to the government, and they attacked the prisons. They attacked the prison of North Singdigi prison. They forced the authorities to release the 800 dreaded criminals. So as a result of that, Bangladesh government has to impose the curfew. They called for army to tackle these violent riots. As a result of that, 137 persons lost their life. Not only 137 persons, some of them became very much injured. And when the curfew became very deep or became very much uncontrollable, because when the riots become uncontrollable, the government has to take the help from the army, because army is the last resort government need to take to protect their nation, to protect the interest of the nations. After the removal of the curfew, Bangladesh government came up with the clarification. They came up with the foreign hands, that foreign hands were responsible of fomenting that protest that became very much violent, and they started nabbing the people, those who were involved in that protest. How many peoples they have nabbed? I mean, the people's Bangladeshi police and the Bangladeshi army and the Bangladeshi forces, the NAB forces. 5,500 peoples has been nabbed by all of these authorities. And among those 5,500, 2,357 has been nabbed by the Dhaka Metropolitan Police. So you can see that what was the conspiracy, because among those peoples, several of them belongs to the BNP, Bangladesh National Party, belongs to the Khaleda Zia, one of the radicalized women in Bangladesh, and most of them was Jamaat-e-Islami. Jamaat-e-Islami is the radical organization, you can say the terrorist organization, those who were doing politics in Bangladesh, under the garb of doing politics, this terrorist organization did these kinds of heinous acts. So the government has to came up with an upper hand to take care of these forces, because those forces were being used by the third party to foment the riot. In some cases, we have came up with the two conclusions, because recently Sheikh Hasina has came up with a statement that is forcing us to think that who was actually involved. We can say that China can be involved, and in some cases we can say that United States were directly involved in fomenting that riot. First, we will going to talk about the why we are talking about the China. Recently, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina went to China. Why she went to China? She went to China to asking for the help from Chinese government. And Hasina went to China with a delegation size of 196 members, including cabinet colleagues, top government official, and the business leaders among the others. So all of them went to China to asking China that they will going to give them some help. But China refused to give them help, because Bangladeshi government asked Chinese government to give them $5 billion loan, because the China's foreign reserve is in a dwindling state. As a result of the dwindling state of foreign reserve, and China is one of the best friend of Bangladesh, Bangladeshi government asked China to give them $5 billion, but China refused to give them $5 billion. Instead of giving them $5 billion, they give them peanuts of only 1 million yuan, which is equivalent to only $137 million. And when she returned in Bangladesh, she came up with an high-handed step. She reduced importing Bangladeshi goods that were around $8 million of a week, and reduce it from $8 million to $5 million. So we can clearly see, or we can clearly came up with a conclusion that there may be the Chinese hands. And Bangladeshi government also asked for the currency swap, that was vehemently denied by the Chinese authorities. As a result of that, we came up with a conclusion that the China may have hands in doing these kinds of things, because China have the habit of doing or involving in the internal affairs of countries like Bangladesh, countries like Pakistan, countries like Maldives, countries like Sri Lanka, countries like Nepal, and all of these countries has suffered economically. Bangladesh almost went bankrupt. India came up with the help of $4 billion. India gave them $4 billion and saved their economy. Maldives, after taking the help from China, now they are in the very sorry state. Their economy is in very sorry state. They are not taking help from India. They are not taking help from any other countries because of their involvement with China. China has almost destroyed most of the African nations like Zambia, you can various other nations, Ethiopia. These are the countries. His economy is now in a dwindling state. They are suffering from economic debacle. So we can come up with a conclusion that the China's strive was to destroy Bangladesh's economy, make them dependent on China's economy or China's helm. And after asking and after making the Bangladesh economy a sorry economy, then they were trying to take the advantage of strategic important port and the islands of Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is a very much strategically important place from the point of view of India. China wants to counter India. As a result of that, China asking for the port access from Bangladesh. They were asking for the Dhaka port, Mongla port. But Bangladesh refused to give them any of those strategic points. Now the second country. The second country, here we are talking about the United States. Why we are talking about the United States? Because according to the several newspapers, US is desperate for a military base in Bangladesh and conspire to carve a new Christian majority state from Bangladesh, India and Myanmar like East Timor. That was the statement of Sheikh Hasina. And with this notorious agenda, US have secretly joined the hands with the Kukichin National Front and several regional insurgency groups, including the Paresh Baruas, which is the kingpin of United Liberation Front of Assam, the Alpha, which is a terrorist organization that has devastated Bangladesh and devastated Assam economically. These are the groups who are taking help from the United States to destroy their own country. Kukichin obviously belongs to Bangladesh, that is a Chittagong based terrorist organization, and Alpha is an organization that belongs to Assam and some parts of the Nagaland and the Manipur. And we have been taking help from these organizations from 1947, because when India got independence from Britain in 1947, these kind of groups were formed were formed by Pakistan with the help of American money. That is history. Now these groups were almost died after the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's office to the Prime Ministership. But in recent time, after the end of the COVID, the things has changed. US become desperate because US got engaged with Ukraine. They started losing their asset. They started losing their strategic point in Ukraine. Maybe as a result of that, they have began this game of balkanizing a country. That is a very dangerous game that United States is playing. And Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina also said that a white man offered her a hassle-free re-elections in the January 7 polls, provided she allowed a foreign country to establish an airbase in Bangladesh territory. So here again, that the Bangladesh Prime Minister did not name the nationality of the white man and the name of the country. But we can clearly come up with that conclusion that the United States, because other than the United States, no countries will going to ask Bangladesh to give them the place to make an Air Force base. That is here the catch. And that is the thing that we need to understand, that what is the United States game over here in the Southeast Asia. As I said, the game of the United States is very dangerous. And in 2023, there was a news that United States demanded the Saint Martin's Island from Bangladesh, a strategically located island which is in the Bay of Bengal, which has the vicinity of Myanmar and the Bangladesh too. So United States government asked Bangladesh government to give them that island to make a military base or a Air Force base over there and give them to influence India as well as Myanmar, as well as they influence the Malacca Strait, because Malacca Strait is a very, very strategically important strait through which most of the oil, 60 or 67% of the world oil passes through that strait. That is the game of the United States. United States already has the base in Diego Garcia. Where is Diego Garcia? Diego Garcia is in Mauritius. That is called the Chagos Archipelago. Recently, India began the game with Mauritius. India supported Mauritius to have the right or the sovereign right over the Diego Garcia, which is the part of the Chagos Archipelago. Maybe from that thing, United States has begun the game, and they have begun the game at around 2021. But India has begun the game now. Now the game will going to give them some test of their own medicine. And the United States Department spokespersons at that time in 2023, the Matthew Miller vehemently denied it and said that they has no intentions of making military base in that island. But the world know and we know that what is the intention of the United States. Why the United States have so many military bases around the world. They have military bases in Qatar, they have military bases in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Japan, South Korea, Philippines, and also several countries in Europe. They have bases all over the world. What is the reason behind of their bases all over the world? Because of the oil. They want to capture the oil in every places. They also have military bases, the war-torn region of Syria and Iraq. Who created ISIS? How many of you know that the ISIS was created by whom? There are some books that particularly say that the Mossad and the CIA was behind the creation of the ISIS. Why? Because they wanted to control the gas and oil of Iraq as well as Syria. So the game is very clear. Now, why they have asked for the military island, Saint Martin Island, and why I am saying that they have asked for it, because there were so many Bangladeshi politicians, they have made the comment in and around 2023. Because during the parliament discussion on June 14, 2023, the Rashid Khan Menon, the president of the Workers' Party of Bangladesh, alleged that the US is after the Saint Martin Island and the US changed its visa policy for the regime change. The US changed the visa policy for that. Why they have changed the visa policy? What is the reason behind the visa policy change? In 2023, the US embassy started not giving the visa to the political leaders of the Awami League, that is in the power at this time. They started giving visa to Jamaat-e-Islami people. They started giving visa to the BNP people. Why? What was the reason behind that? Because they wanted to bring some decent voices to the United States and use them as a tool to make them sit in front of the State Department, in front of the other department, forcing them to ask the questions, to disturb the peace, the already disturbed peace in Bangladesh or in India. That was the reason, and the game we saw during the time of general election of 2024. There was a Bangladeshi journalist who was from Bangladesh. What is his interest in Indian politics? Why he have asked the question on a Indian politician's arrest over corruption? But he asked that questions to the State Department spokespersons. What was the game behind that? Not only Rashid Khan Menon, on June 19, 2023, Jatiyo Samaj Tantrik Dal, whose president, the Hasanul Haq Inu, expressed his concern and the questions whether the US is meddling in Bangladesh's affair for the sake of democracy or for the control of the Saint Martin Island. We have proofs of this interference. We have proofs of this interference, and all of this thing began when? When this began, when the Peter D. Haas came to the Bangladesh as the US ambassador on March 2022. The game began then. And he oversaw the imposition of visa restriction of Bangladeshi government officials and politicians in 2023. So you can clearly understand what was the game of the United States. And they tried to influence the general elections of 2024 of Bangladesh. They influenced the Bangladesh general election. They tried to change the regime. They tried to remove Sheikh Hasina from his post, and they tried to install some of the pliable or the titular government in the Bangladesh's throne. That was the game. But the Bangladesh able to pull up all of his forces with the help of India. India helped them. India helped Sheikh Hasina to retain its governance. And under his supervision, he might have tried to remove the Sheikh Hasina. As I said, the national security was threatened. National security of Bangladesh was threatened. National security of India was threatened. He was directly threatening the national security of India as well as Bangladesh. And in 2023, the game of Manipur began in 2023. And when that began, the game began when there was a verdict from the Manipur High Court. The Manipur High Court gave the Meitei people. Meitei is the Hindu population and the Kuki is the Christian population. The Meitei population gave the right to buy the land in Kuki lands. That was the sovereign right of any Indian to buy the lands anywhere in India. But Kuki began this riot, and Meitei was also somehow responsible for that. They started taking very harsh stand against the Kuki populations, and resistance came. When the resistance came, then third party resistance also came from outside from Myanmar, and everything got mixed up. And when the riot broke out, the India started witnessing, or we started witnessing, that the Open Society Foundation started advocating the cookie populations. Somehow, from somewhere, some NGOs came up with a illogical editorials without understanding what is exactly happening in India, in Manipur. So these are the things we have been observing since 2023, and this has begun with the inceptions of the Peter D. Haas. This is a person which has been appointed by the State Department, and State Department is one of the vicious organizations of within the US government. They have no mercy to their own president, and we have saw that thing during the time of Donald Trump regime or presidency. They have no mercy. They only have the mercy to their own money. These peoples wanted to earn the money. That is why the corruptions, when you will going to go for the deep research of the US bureaucracy or the US politicians, then you will going to find out that there is a rampant level of corruption. And do you really think that the terrorist organizations and the people, those who are involved in the terrorism, are coming into the terrorism organically? No. How they are taking those money? Who is funding them? Because to do terrorism, to do the large protest, everybody needs money. Who is funding those protests? Who is funding those massive protests? Massive protests that was out of touch for in case of India or in case of Bangladesh. And all those protests have tried to harm the economy of these two respective countries, because they tried to choke the capital. In case of India, they tried to choke capital, and in case of Bangladesh as well, they tried to choke capital. In both cases, the similar things has happened. That is why there is a conspiracy. There is a conspiracy of doing those things, of fomenting these riots. And who has fomented those riots? That riots was fomented by the Kukichin National Front. Who are the Kuki people? Kuki peoples are everywhere. They are in Bangladesh, they are in Manipur, and they were as well as in Myanmar. There are 1 million Chin live in Myanmar, 1 million Mizo live in Mizoram, and 500,000 Kuki live in Manipur. And how they began? In this case, how State Department started manipulating the events of this region. They started manipulating events of this region with the help of the Christian missionary. That needed to be stopped. Indian government and the Bangladeshi government as well as Myanmar government need to stop these Christian missionaries and NGOs. These missionaries was used and they used the tribal population of Bangladesh, India and the Myanmar, and they tried to link those populations with the Mongolian populations, which is a utter lie. They started converting those peoples in Christianity. The Hindus, the Buddhists, the Muslims, all of them were forced to convert, or they were brainwashed. That is why they were all converted to Christianity. And when they turned into Christianity, they started pushing those propaganda words, the propaganda words of democracy, propaganda words of different kinds of other Hitler, fascisms, all of those things that Indian government is not giving every right to the Kuki population. These kinds of logic, as well as in case of Bangladesh is same, Myanmar is also same, because in Myanmar there was no democratic government is not there. The military rulers are ruling Bangladesh right now. So Kukichin National Front was used, as well as the Islamic military outfit, the Jamaat ul Ansar fil Hind al Sharqi. That is quite a mouthful name. And these two organizations, the KNF and the JAFHS. KNF stands for Kukichin National Front, and JAFHS stands for Jamaat ul Ansar fil Hind al Sharqiya, was trying to establish a Khilafat within the Chittagong Hill tract areas. How they were trying to dominate those regions? The group wanted to buy land to run the terrorist activity under the agricultural activities. You can see that what was their plan, what they were trying. Now I will going to tell you what is the Kuki Chan National Front. It is from Bangladesh, founded by the Nathan bomb in 2008. As a result of its bomb, the Nathan bomb, the Kuki Chan National Front is also called the Bomb Party. How they were getting the weapons, whom they were getting the helps. The Kuki Chan National Front receiving weapons from the Kachin state. Kachin, where is the Kachin state? Kachin state is in the north of Myanmar, and the region is dominated by Chinese ethnic populations. And they were also getting weapons from the Karen rebels. Who are those Karen rebels? Karen rebels are the rebels, those who are always against the Burmese army, and they are still fighting for independence against Myanmar government or the Myanmar army. You can see the link between these two events. When something has happened in Manipur, the Manipur fire was given by someone with the help of these elements in Myanmar as well as in Bangladesh. All of those elements were used. How these elements were used? With the help of these ambassadors, those who were there, because in embassy, not only the bureaucratic peoples are there are some espionage groups are also operating from these countries. And we have learned by reading some books, various books. The CIA peoples are there in embassies of the United States. Raw peoples are there in Indian embassies. The ISI peoples are there in Pakistani embassy. MI6 are there in the UK embassies. All these peoples are involved. And with the help of these peoples, everything has been organized by the United States, in this case the CIA and the MI6. If the CIA is involved, MI6 is involved. Because these two are friends, these two are the married couple. You can say that. Now the direct proof. What is the direct proof? I have came up with these three images. I have took the screenshot. This is a video. This is a video from Telegram post, from a Telegram channel. You can clearly indicate that the Americans, those who are with this Kuki Chan National Front, they are giving them money, they are giving them training, they are giving them weapons. They are helping them to get the weapons. They are helping them how to go for the guerrilla war against the Indian army, against the Bangladeshi army. These US personnels, you will going to observe such kinds of US personnels in Ukraine. In Ukraine, they are providing training to the neo-Nazi groups of Ukraine. Some of the groups, those who are related to the Ukrainian army, those who are genuine. So Azov Battalion, what is Azov Battalion? Azov Battalion is a Nazi army of Ukraine. And United States has planted several army personnel to train them. Why? Because they wanted to win the war against Russia. So hypocrisy. This is the hypocrisy of the United States. The United States will came out with a logic that we are here to protect the democracy, but they protect the democracy by eliminating the peoples. They protect the democracy by eliminating all the resources that the countries have. And when they took all the resources from the country, then they came up with the logic that you do not have the resources. Now you have to buy the resources from our contractors, from our government agents, from anyone, those who are related to us, from any country that are related to us. They deprived them of rights. United States deprived them of their right to the mineral resources, deprive them of their rights, whatever the rights they have. If there is no democracy, then there is a system through which the country is being run. That is the thing that we need to understand over here. What is the US plan? US plan to rule over the country. They have came up with the several logics, or the several conspiracy theories are there. There is a globalized government, different kinds of governments logic that these peoples, the people, those who are belongs to the United States politics and the United States bureaucracy, as well as the people, those who are linked to this bureaucracy. He will going to find out that how they manipulate the people's mind, how they manipulate the newspapers, and how their newspapers manipulate the minds of people, those who are living in these countries. Because in India, most of the peoples do not go for the natural sources or real sources. They came up with the different kinds of fragile logic that is being given by the some of the YouTubers or some of the people, those who are running some groups in the WhatsApp. We have to read books, otherwise we will not going to understand what is the plan of the United States, what is the plan of China, what is the plan of Russia, what India is planning, because India is planning a very good game. And India is trying to save this world from an authoritarian control. United States always lecture the world that we are the beacon of democracy, we are protecting democracy, we are protecting sovereignty, we are all about the protecting the boundary of any nations. Russia has invaded Ukraine and they have violated the international rule by invading Ukraine, by capturing the some of the lands of Ukraine, but they never going to came up with their own mistakes. They invaded Iraq, they invaded Syria, they invaded Vietnam, they invaded Somalia, they destroy Somalia, they destroy Libya, they destroy Libyan economy, Somalian economy, their social structure, the people, those who are living there, their life is in dwindling. So they will never going to tell you that what they are planning and why they are invading their country. They during the time of Cold War, they invaded the country with the logic that the communism is increasing and we are here to kill the communism or eliminate the communisms. No other facts. Do they really think that the peoples are idiot in today's time? Maybe after the end of the Second World War, the world was already in a very tense time and there was not far many resources for the peoples to came up with the logic that the United States has done something wrong. Now people have all the resources. Now it is the time for the people to understand what is the game. Now the Trump's assassination attempt. Why I am talking about the Trump's assassination attempt? Because the Joe Biden is the president of the United States, is one of the most incompetent president. In his rule, the inflation rate of the United States has reached its peak, but the Federal Reserve is trying to show the world that their country is in a very jolly state. But no, the inflation rate of the United States has reached almost 6%. So there are genuinely some problems. So they tried to eliminate Donald Trump because he is nationalist. And Western countries are allergic to the nationalism. They know that when the nationalism will grow or increased within a country, their influence on the peoples in the name of communism or socialism will be reduced, will go to the drain. That is why they tried to eliminate this man, this nationalistic American man. After the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, the site of the incident were washed using water hoses by FBI. The FBI is their internal agency. The responsibility of FBI is who is responsible of attacking Donald Trump, who is responsible behind assassinations. They have came up with the logic that the Thomas Cook was the only man after the incident, that the Thomas Crooks were the only man who is responsible, solely responsible for this attack on Donald Trump. No, there were so many other things. This Crooks, the Thomas Crooks, appears on the BlackRock commercial in 2022 BlackRock commercial. So BlackRock, who know? You know what is BlackRock is. The BlackRock is one of the biggest organization, investment organization or institutional investors of the world. They have 10 million asset. $10 trillion asset. Excuse me, I'm so very much sorry. $10 trillion asset they have. This company has. And what they did, one of their associates or the third party, you can say that the Austin Private Wealth short 12 million shares of the Trump's social media company and which hold almost 36 crore US dollar. 36 crore US dollar, that exactly the 12 million shares was short by this company, the Austin Private Wealth. Who are the investors in the Austin Private Wealth? Who is the major stakeholder of Austin Private Wealth is BlackRock and Vanguard. The Vanguard is also equivalent to BlackRock. Both of them has $10 trillion of assets in their bags. They shot the Trump company. If they did not know about the Trump event, then how could they came up with a conclusion that if the Trump get died, then the value of the company will come to its nadir and they will going to make money out of it. This is nonsense. This is nonsense for the people not to see these facts. And there is a no ballistic report. The FBI did not came up with an acoustic report. There are some reports, those who have been observed or examined by some of the private organizations of the United States. There was nothing. Mysterious Iran link has came up with nowhere. How could Iran be responsible of assassination attempt on Trump? How is it possible? Iran is fighting their own war in this region. Iran is fighting exactly the proxy war against Israel in every region. They have proxy groups in Yemen. Hezbollah is proxy group. Hamas is the proxy group of Iran. In Lebanon, Hezbollah is also there. So these are the games are being played by their own people, by the people of the United States, those who are very deep inside. And nobody knows who these peoples are. Some of them knows, but no one will going to talk about who are those peoples are. So this was the game. Because the people, those who are in the power at this time, they are trying to influence, they are continuously trying to influence the politics in those regions, in South Asia region, in Central Asia region, in Middle Eastern region, in Eastern European region. They wanted to continue with their game. That is why they wanted to eliminate Mr. Trump, former president of the United States. That was the game. And this is the game of the oil and the business interest. The United States is a very greedy country. They have $29 trillion worth of economy, but their debt is around or more than $34 trillion. So it is a bubble. If that will going to burst, what will going to happen to the world economy? The world economy will going to feel the much bigger hit that it felt in 1929 Great Depression. So that is the game of the deep state, those who are trying to control the flow of oil from Mediterranean through the canal, the Suez Canal, through the strait between Africa and the Asia, and the Malacca Strait, because that is the point through which 60% oil passes. And they also trying to control the Madagascar Strait. Why the Madagascar Strait? The Madagascar Strait is also important. Because almost 56% of the oil passes through that regions. And they are pissed off. Why they are pissed off? Because there are some reports that the India is operating from the Algela Island in the Mauritius. That is one of the most strategically important ports through which India can control the south regions of the Indian Oceans. And India is trying to control. India has the listening base in Seychelles. India has its base in Mauritius. India is also in talk with France to control the Reunion Island. India is also trying to install their bases in Madagascar. India has its treaty with some of the countries, those who are sharing the border with the Indian Oceans in Africa. So this is the big game. And this is being played by the big player. That is why the United States is in a very, very annoying position. They want to disturb India. They want to control India as well as China. And they need that St. Martin Island. And they need St. Martin Island by changing the regime. Because Sheikh Hasina government will never going to give them the St. Martin Island. They will going to get the access of the St. Martin Island when the BNP will come to the power, the Khaleda Zia will come to the power along with Jamaat-e-Islami. And when BNP and the Jamaat-e-Islami will come to power, what will going to happen to India? The rampant terrorism. India is already facing terrorism from Pakistan side. And they are giving them money. Who is giving them money? The United States, the IMF. Why the IMF is the United States stooge is the IMF. United States has almost 17% stake in the IMF and they control the IMF. And the IMF is giving money to Pakistan. And Pakistan is not giving those money back to the banks, to the coffer of the IMF. Why? Because the United States is the free money. And we are observing the increasing frequency of the terrorist attack from Pakistani sides. And that has been happening since the third time oath of Prime Minister Modi. That is a big game. And there was this man named the Donald Lu. Do you know who is the Donald Lu? I cannot use the bad word over here because the YouTube will going to ban my video. Donald Lu is serving as the Assistant Secretary of State for the South and the Central Asia Affairs since 2021. And he previously served as the both US Ambassador to Kyrgyzstan from 2018 to 2021 and Ambassador to Albania from 2015 to 2018. And he is accused by then Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan of threatening to overthrow the Khan's government through the no confidence vote and have sent a cryptic message to him means this case the Imran Khan through the Pakistan ambassador to the US ambassador to Pakistan ambassador to the United States was Asad Majid. And this is the report according to the Intercept. Who is owning this Intercept? Intercept is owned by the Umayyad. It was one of the most influential peoples in the world. And Umayyad is also influencing the Indian politics, Indian internal matter. And this Donald Lu person met Asad Majid on March 7, 2022. And after that, the Pakistan's government, the Imran Khan government was overthrown. Overthrown by the combinations of the parties, that is PPP, and the parties that is belongs to the Prime Minister. Right now, who is the Prime Minister? I'm forgetting the name. Shahbaz Sharif. Shahbaz Sharif's party. So PMNL. This is the game. This is the game has already been played by Mr. Lu. This man has helped the opposition parties of Pakistan to take over the Pakistan throne, and they did. Mr. Lu has did the same in case of Indian election, and that man has tried to do the same in case of Bangladesh election. This man is a menace, and I do not have any idea that what the government of India is doing, because this man has the guts to tell his counterparts in the United States in congressional meeting that whatever the India is doing with Russia is not good, because Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi has went to Russia, talked to Mr. Putin, give him a big hug, and make a deal of $100 billion of trade between India and Russia. And Mr. Lu is saying to its congressional forum, is saying that the Indian government has done very much wrong in meeting Mr. Putin. Why? Because they are pissed. They are pissed because of the Mr. Modi's visit to Russia. And they are saying that they are very much disappointed. Who are you to get disappointed? Who are you to tell India that what are the things India should do? That is why India have told the United States government, India have freedom of choose. Freedom of choose his friends, freedom of choosing whom they will going to talk. That is the game. That is the freedom. That is the definition of freedom. If you are lecturing or pushing any country not to talk with them because I am not having a very good time or the good friendship with that country, that is not how the world works. But these peoples are trying to run the world with their nasty ideas that will proven to be the very dangerous for this world. And who knows what is waiting for us in the future, because there are so many speculations that the World War III is coming, and when the World War III will come, then what will going to happen? Then the military industrial complex will going to get the benefit out of it, as they took the benefits of the Second World War. And we all know that. We all know who the Prescott Bush is. How he took the advantage of the Nazi Germany, make the money. Not only he, there were so many banks. Chase Bank was one of them. They make an organizations, and with the help of this organization, they help Himmler of the Nazi Germany, in making the steel. What was the need of the steel at that time? The need of the steel at that time was to manufacturing the goods, the defense goods. This is the game is being played by these peoples. And who is running the United States government? Do you really think Joe Biden is running the US government? No, someone is behind that. There are so many people, those who are talking about Barack Obama. Barack Obama is running the government because Barack Obama is the sweetheart man of the deep state. That is why he is running the game. And he had played a very nasty game when India was buying S-400 missile system. You know about the Kulbhushan Singh Jadhav. Those who are very much related to the geopolitics, they know about the Kulbhushan Jadhav. Kulbhushan Jadhav is an Indian man, and he was abducted by the Pakistani Sunni Islamist militant group Jaisul Adal. He was abducted from Iran because Kulbhushan Jadhav was working with some engineers, Indian engineers in Chabahar port and Bandares Abbas. They were abducted him and they sold Kulbhushan Jadhav to Pakistani ISI and to portray him as Indian agent or raw agent. That was a game that was played from behind. And who played that game? That game was played. I do not know the truth of this thing. Do not know the truth of this news because there are some reports and some of the YouTubers that has already talked about it, that the Barack Obama was the main architect of abducting the Kulbhushan Jadhav because India was buying S-400 missile system. The India rejected America's missile system. That was a game of the MIC. And behind the Barack Obama, that was MIC, Military Industrial Complex. Who are the people, those who are running that military industrial complex? The military industrial complex of the United States dominated by the Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon and the various other organizations. And who are the investors of this military industrial complex? Investors, you will going to find the name of the BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Fidelity. These are the organizations, those who are investing in this military industrial complex. And who are the people behind those organizations? You will not going to find the name. You will going to find the name of the CEO only. You will not going to find who are owning this organization because there are people, those who are running this game, running this nasty game. That is why I am saying that Indians need to learn how to look at the geopolitical news. This geopolitical news is not in black and white. The peoples have to learn how to read between lines. Every time I am saying that you have to learn how to read between lines. Without reading between the lines, you will never going to learn that what is the real geopolitics going on. And India has been devastated because of the Manipur event. India is hurt because of the Manipur event. And the Manipur event has been used by our political parties to hedge their bets in the elections, and that hurt the present government. Their seat number was 303 and now they are in 240. The majority is 272. The game was to reduce the BJP's powers and they have been able to do that. They have successfully did that. Who I am talking about? All of these people that I am named right now, all of the organization that I have named right now. There is a report in the Disinfo Lab organizations. There is a report. There is a PDF file. You can go there and read. The website is disinfolab.org. You can go there and read the people, those who are involved. The US news channels were not involved in this time because last time they were involved. In this time, these peoples have used the news outlets of France, and the French communist peoples was invading our news ideas, our news propagandas. They used our news channel to spread the propaganda, of caste. They tried to divide Hindus on the basis of caste, and when the Hindus divided in caste, then the game has begun of reduction of seats. They have played the game. You have to understand that. So this is the end of the topic. If you have any questions, I'm saying that any questions, you can ask me any questions on our comment sections. Please ask me questions on the comment section. I will definitely going to give you the answers. So thank you very much. Thank you for your support. See you next time.